Welcome to the Overflow Mindset Group. Hopefully you experience an overflow in your life. Today we're going to give a market update on the stock market and maybe some other markets, but we're just going to start with Netflix. Like we talked about in the past, Netflix is on its way to fill these gaps. We don't expect, to count Netflix out. You should never count Netflix out. Very innovative company, always looking for solutions, that sort of thing. So as you see, we're talking about these gaps that were created on the move down, this gap up here as well as this gap here, and as you see so far, we've started to fill this gap. It didn't get filled completely. As you see, the highs that were created over here not exactly completely fill that gap, so we are expecting another push up to kind of fill that gap, maybe some pullbacks on the way up to then fill this higher gap up here. So again, don't count Netflix out. As the market recovers, so will Netflix. So that's where we're going to get some momentum. CPI information came out regarding inflation, that sort of thing, so that's going to give us like a shot in the arm, basically moving things up as far as the markets go. So we expect more continuation on this level. We are starting to see bullishness when you really look back, going back into the June sort of time frame. You start to see this bullishness sort of coming in nice and slowly, but it is steadily coming in, and we want to continue to watch that and see how the market performs going forward. Again, this, in my opinion, will be one of the biggest market comebacks of all time. Many people will be anticipating this. Many people will do whatever it takes to invest in this. This is somewhat of I refer to it as a Noah's Ark moment. When other people may be laughing at you about what you're doing, why you're doing it, it is time for you to go out and determine what do you want to get out of the market. What do you need to put into the market? Do you need to go out and generate additional funds in order to put into the market in order to achieve what you want to achieve out of the market? With Netflix, household name, you're looking at 300% gain. That's kind of unheard of when you think about it. If the indices only move up maybe 20% in a year, that would be a good year. To make 300% on an investment, 3x on an investment, just think about it. So this is just Netflix. So as we look through everything here, as far as the stocks, indices, futures, or it could be other markets, even crypto, which took a beating today but could easily turn things around. This is what we're looking for. We're looking to move up with these markets and take advantage of what will be the biggest comeback of all time, in my view. So we'll continue to watch what happens, but right now things are looking pretty good overall. Again, there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs in the process of these prices moving up. So just like this big move and then several days down and lots of probably bad news on the television and that sort of thing, you got to consider the overall move. Like, where were we in June and July? Where were we in June and July versus where we were headed and where we are today? So that's what we really have to start to understand, that this may take time for this to all play out, but the idea is that the opportunity is quite substantial. And again, we're just talking about getting back to the highs we had before. The market has proven time and time again to blow out the highs that it had before and continue on and on. So again, just wanted to hit that point home so everybody kind of understands that. So let's just go back and let's just take a look at, I guess, the S&P 500. As we look here at the S&P 500, we'll also see this recovery type of move that's happening here. We've had quite a bit of volatility overall on the way down. Now it's starting to push back up, so we'll have to continue to monitor to see how far it will go to the upside, or if it will continue to sort of go above the 50-day moving average and eventually get out of the water and go above the 200-day moving average, but right now we're just concerned with the 50 and whether the 50 will hold some support going up. You can look at the Dow. Dow is looking even better, because so when we looked at the Dow previously, you know, I was looking at the 36,000 level as the high from the original move coming up. So I was expecting 36,000 to be the high, and then price would come down. So we've come down, now we're headed back up into that 36,000 level. Again, this is sort of proof of what we're really talking about. We moved above the 50-day moving average, moved above the 200-day moving average. We're hoping that the 200-day moving average will start to curve up some, and the 50 will continue to come above the 200, and we will go beyond the highs that we had previously. So this will be a pretty major move. Let's see if we could measure this. Let's say from really just from here. Let's see how far that will come back. So we're looking at 20% comeback for the Dow Jones. And then again, we're expecting this to go much further than this. So opportunities exist in many different forms as far as investing in these indices, you know, with options or futures or just whatever you might be interested in. But the opportunities definitely exist. NASDAQ. So with the NASDAQ starting to show really strong support. You know, we're looking like from back in June time frame where we started to see somewhat of a recovery. We sort of dropped a little bit below those levels, but still those levels are holding if you look at it as more of a zone instead of just a one price level. But so now we're looking for upside. We need price to get above the 50, continue above the 200, and so on and so forth. NASDAQ from here to previous highs is 50%. So all right, let's look at BlackRock. BlackRock showing a strong recovery here from this downward momentum that it had previously. Definitely above the water at this point, and we expect that to continue above the 50 and above the watermark here. We are a little bit high on our RSI reading, but you know, as with the market, like we're always saying, we expect ups and downs, but we want the trend to overall be to the upside. So if we look back in time, how much higher are we from where we were previously? Even if you were here, how much higher are we from previously? You know, we want to look long term and think long term until these actually recover back to these highs again. Ally. So Ally slipped a little bit further than we expected it to, but it is showing some slight momentum towards the 50-day moving average. Our RSI is looking pretty good, so we have a lot of room for growth here, so we could expect this to really sort of push up. So we'll just have to monitor Ally to see how things are going with that. These are some of those sort of long-term bulls here, still showing regular momentum. Hershey as well, regular momentum here. All right, looking at AMD. So AMD starting to show again more support here. We'll have to see if it can really play above the 50-day moving average. It still has a little bit more room to run before it gets to some type of resistance. But again, you know, we don't expect too much resistance, and we'll continue up from this point on. From here, where the price is today, to here would be almost 100%. Again, these are big names. AMD. Then we have General Motors, looking at 80% gain potential from where we were. Again, above the 50-day moving average, starting to show a little bit above the 200-day moving average. So we're just gonna have to watch and see. Even if it continues to sort of go sideways a bit here, you know, eventually we expect this to go ahead and move to the upside. NEO, and NEO is taking a little bit of a hit. So we're not too sure. I mean, when we come to a Chinese company and that sort of thing, we do have to be cautious about what could happen. Even if our market recovers, there could be other things to manipulate a company like this. But we'll continue to watch and see if this can recover. Again, we're looking at these potentials in these investments. NVIDIA, same thing. So from the previous breakout potential that we had, it was 100%. Now at this potential breakout, we're looking at 140%. Again, we are a little high on our RSI reading, so we could see some pullbacks and that sort of thing. But again, as long as we can sort of maintain a zone here of support, then we would continue to see that move up, hopefully. Ford Motor Company, again, big names. You know, performance-wise, I'm not too sure, but definitely big names. Looking at Ford Motor Company here, we were looking to establish support around this zone that we started out in June with. So we did move up some. We had this pullback here recently, so now we're starting to push up again. We are a little high on our RSI reading, so maybe we'll see a little bit of sideways action before it continues on. But from here to here, we're looking at 100%. Let's see, percentage. It looks like we're close to what, 40 or so percent. Yeah. So we got 30% right now, but if we go back to here, it would be about 50% to get from that last move, that last push. DraftKings. So DraftKings, lots of fun talking about this one. Like I said, DraftKings all depends on where you get in at. So right now we are seeing some upward momentum, even though it is below the 50-day moving average. But RSI is kind of low, so we have some room to run. So we expect this to run above the 50-day moving average, and then continue to have this sort of sideways action, but continue to look for an upward move, because we've been sideways for quite a while. You know, looks like, yeah, even back in June, we've been kind of sideways. We did push up a few times here, so we'll have to watch and see what happens with DraftKings. Again, DraftKings potential is quite huge. So once it did drop back down here, that turned into a 200% potential just to get back to this price here, which would not be a full recovery. If you were to get a full recovery, we'll just start from the price now. If you would get a full recovery, yeah, you're looking at 400% gain potential on DraftKings. And again, we're just saying for the market to recover back to the levels that it was previously. Again, this may take time. This is a daily chart, so these things will take time. Roblox, looking at Roblox here, it has been dropping and not showing as much support as we would like it to, but it is higher than it was back in June. So right now we're low on our RSI reading, oversold, so we would expect this to start to turn up at some point here. You know, maybe it'll dip a little bit more, but it'll start to turn up. And so we have to watch this one to see what the recovery really looks like. Apple, look here, it's kind of choppy. You know, right now we did have that big fall, but it looks like it's starting to push up, you know, based on the CPI day and that sort of results that came out. So we'll have to just monitor this to see what happens. But Apple recovered a lot sooner than other stocks, you know, from the highs that it previously had. It did push pretty much close to those highs, so it's looking pretty good to probably do the same thing again and go ahead and go beyond that particular point. So Apple's looking good. Then we have PayPal. PayPal definitely had a lot of downward motion. You know, established some support back here in June. It seems to be respecting that particular level of support. So we'll have to continue to monitor this one. Looks like we got a little bit of room to run to get above that 50. But this one, you know, it's not a lot of volatility as of yet, but we do have some gaps up here that need to be filled. Let's see. So let's just sort of put a box here for the gaps so we can see those more clearly next time. Maybe I'll change the color later, but at any rate, those gaps need to be filled if it does come back up. So we'll continue to monitor PayPal. Let's go. I did Netflix. Let's jump to Amazon. So Amazon definitely taking a hit. Looking at, you know, where we were in June, we're below that level on this. You know, we did have a run up for a moment, and then we started to have some downward motion here. Let me put an arrow where we crossed the 50 again to the downside. So that's where we would have. Yeah, that's where we would have started this sort of downtrending that started to occur. So we'll have to watch this one. It looks like we're ready to start turning back up, but it's so far away from the 50, you know, that we would need some really great days for Amazon to kind of push this back up. But we'll have to continue to monitor this. Again, these are big names, Amazon, and we were looking at what, an 80% return to the highs. All right. Meta. So Meta, again, another one that took a pretty big hit. Some of the fundamentals, I guess, in the news and that sort of thing have really impacted some of these. But if we were just using our 50-day moving average, we can tell that, we're not really above that. So it's not, time for this to start turning up, or we're not seeing the evidence of this turning up because it is below the 50-day moving average. So that continues to be true right now. So we'll have to continue to monitor this. But again, big name in Meta, and about a was 162% to get back to the highs. If we were to draw it out again, yeah, so now it's 240% return to the high. So even though things are getting worse, the percentages are getting better. And again, this is where I say, is this that sort of Noah's Ark moment where you look and say, what am I doing? What am I trying to build here? What am I expecting to do? What am I going to get out of what's potential to happen? How do I get to the other side of this price and this price? And how much will I put into this? And so again, consult your financial advisor to get the best advice, but present them with these opportunities. That's all we're doing, is giving you the news about percentage return to highs, and present that news and that information to your financial advisor and ask them, does any of this fit into your financial plan? Right, then we'll go to AMC. AMC is still riding below the 50-day moving average. We've seen some push-ups and that sort of thing. Again, this has really been down all across the board. But there are moments where you can get some gains out of this, and they will be quite substantial based on the price. So this is to get even just right to here. That would be 200% gain, like right about here. So 50% gain. You don't really need as much movement once the price is down below like $10 here, in the $5 range. And if it goes even deeper into this range, like to $3 or $2, like, then the potential for any push up is going to be a big gain. Now we don't particularly expect this to really get back to all-time highs, but if it ever did, you're looking at 500%. But for this one, because they have the other stock, the APE stock as well, there's just a lot of fundraising that's going on between AMC and APE that it's kind of hard to say what might happen. But there will be moments for quick flashes up, that potentially will, double an account. All right, Square. So looking at Square, we are at least above the 50-day moving average here. A little bit more room to run, it looks like, based on the RSI reading. And for Square, now that we've sort of moved down one level, we're looking at 360% back to get back to all-time highs. So again, big names, Square, something to discuss with your financial advisor. Upstart, we're showing here, we haven't had much movement above the 50-day moving average, so there's really nothing happening. This would have to start to trade above the 50-day moving average and show some support above it before we could really consider anything with Upstart. Let's jump to Mullen, and again, this is more of a YOLO play for Mullen, because it was establishing some support around this zone here, but there's really not a lot of activity as much, but the percentage gains are really high because it's only, it's sub dollar. It's a penny stock at this point. So the gains day to day, you're going to see numbers that are going to be high, even though you can see over time this has been going down. But any movement up is going to seem substantial since it's sub $1. All right, SoFi. So SoFi, wow, this is the one that has quite a bit of potential, but getting sort of a liftoff is taking a bit of time. So it looks like we've established some support across the board, dating back to about May and June time frame. It's been really holding that same pretty much level or zone of support right up in here. So the question is, when will it break out? to the upside or the downside. I guess not much more room to go down. If it does go down to $4 or $2 or something like that, then these percentage gains just are going to increase. Let's see if we can pull that up. Yeah, so here's the zero line, and this would be the $4 mark roughly, and this would be the $2 mark. So you can see how the percentage gains change depending on if they go down to those levels. You're looking at 500% to get back to the previous highs, looking at 1,000%. So 5x or 10x, 11x occurring right there. So lots of eyes on SoFi. If the company can stay solid and that sort of thing, there's quite a bit of potential, and we've seen it establish quite a bit of a floor here. So we'll have to watch this one. All right, I will just jump to a couple more. Let's look at Halliburton. It has pushed up almost 25% or so for Halliburton. Let's look at Home Depot. Home Depot is making a little bit of a recovery. It's out of the water at this point, so we'll continue to watch that on the 50-day moving average, and that should continue up. Home Depot, let's see, again, another big name, and we'll just go from where we are today back to previous highs will be 34%. Home Depot. Got Google still looking to the downside here, so we'll have to wait and see if it can establish above the 50-day moving average. So right now we don't have much. It would potentially be 50% or more, I guess, at this point, move to the upside. Dutch Bros, not a lot of activity here, kind of been moving sideways, but is a little higher than it previously was, but I don't see anything happening much here. Let's see, Palantir, very popular for a lot of folks as far as an investment, but we haven't seen a lot of movement above the 50-day moving average or any sort of curve up on that yet. Tesla, so here we are. Tesla, this is the one we're gonna have to watch. So Tesla, as you see in the past, Tesla's been below, what after the split is below $200. This is after the split. So right here we are showing some support, and we expect to see some support at this level because in the past it has turned around sort of in that level. We're at that level again, so we'd expect some sort of push up and eventually get back to the $300 mark. At $300 mark is where we started more or less with that latest split, and we really expected Tesla to stay up in this range and sort of go sideways then go up, but of course due to fundamentals and other, I guess, investments such as Twitter and those things that Elon Musk is making, we've seen quite a bit of movement in this particular stock. So again, we're at a point where we would expect in the zone here to see some sort of a move to the upside at this point. All right, we got Rivian, competitive company, electric motor company. Not seeing much movement here, so that these are daily candles and those are not very big candles. So I mean, percentage wise it is looking pretty good, but yeah, it's a lot of activity here. Okay, all right, other than that, yeah, I mean, so many things that we could go through, but we'll sort of stop here and maybe pick up on another exchange and talk about maybe crypto or something else. But otherwise, Overflow.